What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. Dugai, coming at y'all with another episode of Dropping Dimes with Mr. Dugai. And today I'm going to take a look back to last season NFC North and also preview and predict the NFC North for the 2025 season. My division winner, second place, third place, and last place. Before I get into this video, man, for anyone, if you want to be a member of the channel or Mr. Duga Dime Dropper, click the join button, get perks like you can see this video before everyone else, get members only pregame lives, halftime lives, and postgame lives, cool emojis and certain shout outs, man. So click the join button and become a member of the channel. Also, if you want to follow me on social media, that information gonna be down in the description box. If you're a subscriber to the channel, greatly appreciate the love and support. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell notification button, like the video, and share it with your folks. Taking a look at the NFC North last year, man. Boy, I just knew we was going to Detroit, man. I just knew NFC Championship. It was gonna be Eagles and Detroit Lions in Detroit, man. And ironically, I actually spent some time in Detroit a couple of months ago on business, man. Cool city, man. I like Detroit, man. It's too damn cold up there for a guy from Louisiana. But I like it, man. Cool city, man. Enjoyed my time up there. Actually caught a Pistons game up there and everything too, man. Cool little spot, man. Good sports town. Seen the Lions, Ford Field, Comerica Park, and all that as well. But I thought the Eagles was going. I thought I wasn't the only one going up there. I thought the Eagles was going up there, and then Jaden Daniels and the Commanders went up in there and dropped 45 on their head, man. And they had a very disappointing end to a 15-2 historic season to go one and done in the playoffs. And look, man, granted they had a lot of injuries defensively. Like you can't deny that. Aiden Hutchinson is a dog, and he got hurt in the Dallas Cowboy game early in the year. And it was just a magical season for the Detroit Lions. I argued with Lions fans last year because I felt like Dan Campbell ordered and Nick's look as an Eagle fan, Nick Sirianni had to learn that. Like you ain't got to keep going for it all the time like that, man. Like sometimes trust your team, take your 3 points and whatever. And I feel like the Detroit Dan Campbell caused the Detroit Lions a Super Bowl appearance against the San Francisco 49ers. When in the second half he unnecessarily went for it. And, I just think it's hard to live that way. And that team was dominant as it was last year, went out disappointing as they did. I know that got a sting, man. I even had some Lions fans at the airport up there give me a hard time with my Eagles gear on. But yeah, that was Detroit last year. The Minnesota Vikings, who another team with a dreadful, disappointing and one and done into the season. After a 14-3 regular season where Sam Darnold was out there looking like the second coming of, of Brett Favre or somebody like that. He was outstanding last year. Shout out to Aaron Jones, who I actually met at an airport in Houston, man. Cool, humble, sincere guy, man. I wish him nothing but the best, man. I really appreciated our interaction. And they had a good year, man. Jefferson is a dog. Addison really developed into what you thought he could be coming out of college. Hawkinson is good. Aaron Jones with the run game. The defense led by Brian Flores. You had people like Vin Ginkle had a really resurgent type of year back in that Brian Flores defense. Harrison Smith, the ageless wonder, and safety still getting it done. And this team goes into the playoffs and just lays an absolute egg against the Los Angeles Rams when they give up 9 sacks, man. That was just completely and utterly inexcusable, man. And then you look at the Green Bay Packers. Oh, those Green Bay Packers, boy, I got a lot to say about y'all. Um, they didn't have a bad year, but obviously Minnesota and Detroit was better. You know what I'm saying? And then they get in the playoffs, man, and my defense just absolutely the Eagles defense absolutely takes that offense apart. Now granted they had some injuries, Christian Watson had the unfortunate ACL injury the last game of the season. And a lot of we was knocking Jenkins out. We was just knocking people out the game left and right, man, in that playoff matchup. And Jordan Love threw up all over himself with 3 interceptions. Yo, this guy is to me the most Jekyll and Hyde quarterback of the league. One week he looks like an All-Pro quarterback. The next week he just looks like he's gonna end up being a backup somewhere. Like you just don't know what you get with a Jordan Love, man. And they came into the link, man, and in the opening play of the game. We knocked the ball out the kick returning hands and recovered. Now I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was kind of crazy that we got credited for recovering the fumble. I don't think we had the ball, to be honest with you, but I'll take it and I'll take the win as well, man. And then the Chicago Bears last season, after such a promising start with rookie Caleb Williams, it just fell over for them after that. And they had some unfortunate losses, particularly the Hail Mary game with the Commanders. They get field goals blocked against Green Bay. Overtime thrilling loss to Minnesota at home. They had some games they could have won that they didn't, which led to the firing of their head coach Matt Eberflus. He gets canned, and then overall a disappointing year for the Chicago Bears, who had some brought in some good personnel players with a new promising rookie quarterback, and it all just went for naught. Okay, now looking at this season, man. First, I'm gonna start off with those Detroit Lions. Look, offensively, they lost the maestro, the mastermind behind that whole operation. Ben Johnson is who I'll get to later, is no longer the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. But they got good personnel offensively. They did lose Frank Ragnow, who surprisingly announced that his retirement at center. And look, it's not easy to replace an all-pro center. With the Eagles, we were lucky that we drafted Cam Jurgens to step in for Jason Kelsey, and it didn't start off so smooth. So even if whoever Detroit has at center now, it's gonna be a little bit of it's gonna take a little time, basically, a transition. But man, they got a good team. They got good personnel. Jared Goff, who I'm not the greatest fan of, but I know whenever he's in time and in rhythm, he could be a streaky quarterback that could really pick you apart. The offensive line, with the exception of losing Frank Ragnow, Panel Sewell, and those guys, Taylor Decker, they got a good group on the offensive line. Really good group, matter of fact, an elite group on the offensive line. Jameer Gibbs, I must say, I think Jameer Gibbs is a dog. like, I think he don't get as much credit as he deserves because you have a guy like David Montgomery over there running hard. Also, the Sonic Knuckles thing. But I think Jameer Gibbs he reminds me of a young Alvin Kamara. Like when Alvin Kamara first came into the league, I think Jameer Gibbs is just as good and even faster than what Kamara ever was. Probably not as physical, but he's and have as much as great a balance as a Kamara have. But this guy is a home run hitting threat every time he touches the ball. I think he's an outstanding running back, yo. David Montgomery is really good as a physical short yardage back. And then in the receiving core, man, St. Brown is consistent and solid. Williamson could take the top off the defense. And they got some other guys, no big names, but other guys who fulfill certain roles along that offense. And a solid tight end in Sam Laporta. Defensively, just like they lost Ben Johnson on offense, they lose Aaron Glenn on the defensive side of the ball. Now, look, shout out to Kelvin Shepard, former LSU Tiger, is now the defensive coordinator over there, was the linebackers coach for some years. But we gonna see how they do with a new coordinator. But defensively, they are healthy. They get Aiden Hutchinson back, who was another guy who I think is an absolute dog. Big time pass rusher, man, and he was missed for Detroit whenever he left with that leg injury. I think one game against Tampa Bay, he had like 4 sacks in one game early in the years. But if he could come back fully healthy, the sky's the limit for him as a pass rusher. You got guys like Campbell at linebacker, and they got one of the better safety tandems in all of football with Brian Branch and Kirby Joseph, who I think he either led the league or he was up there in the league with interceptions last year. Cornerback Terrion Arnold, who didn't have a great rookie year, but we're gonna see how he develops in year two. Robinson, Amik, who played really well down the stretch, particularly their last game against Minnesota, that playoff game. This Detroit Lions team is a talented team, man. And for me, the biggest questions with them, honestly, is the coordinators. How will the play calling be offensively, and how will the play calling be defensively? But other than that, I think they got talent to be one of the better teams in the NFC. You look at the Minnesota Vikings. Look, they got a big question mark behind center. like Sam Darnold had a resurgent year last year, though it didn't go well in the playoff game. But Sam Darnold was outstanding last year. J.J. McCarthy. I honestly thought Minnesota was going to consider Aaron Rodgers for like a year when the offseason started, but they got full confidence in J.J. McCarthy coming back from his injury. They drafted him, high in the first round for a reason, and we're gonna see what he does, yo. Obviously he's very talented, but we don't know. We don't know what to expect. But he has a talented team around him, especially offensively. When you talk about Aaron Jones in the backfield, Justin Jefferson, LSU's on one of the better receivers, if not the best receiver in the game. Jordan Addison, who had a great year last year developing. And TJ Hawkinson is a solid tight end. Offensive line got to be a little better, but I think overall, man, Minnesota got a really loaded team offensively. Then defensively, Brian Flores is one of the better defensive minds in all of football. Van Ginkel had a big year last year. You got guys like Dallas Turner who's continuing to develop. And in the secondary, Harrison Hitman Smith is the ageless one that safety. They did lose Gilmore. They got my former Eagle Isaiah Rogers over there. It's a good team, man. It's a good team. And I just think the question mark is quarterback. I think Kevin O'Connell is a really, really good head coach and a brilliant offensive mind. So we gonna see how JJ McCarthy performs, man. Then you're looking at the Green Bay Packers, who, as an Eagle fan, I got a lot of issues with, and I can't wait to play them this season. With them basically calling the police on us about the tush push, got the cops knocking and out, kicking down our door at 2 in the morning, looking everywhere for stuff, just to find nothing because it did not get banned. And ironically, the vote was 22-10, the same score we beat your ass by in the playoff game. And it could have been uglier than that, but Saquon spared y'all by sliding. But anyways, now that I got that out the way, it's a team that is kind of hard to put your finger on. There's talent in certain areas. Like I said, with Jordan Love, he's the most Jekyll and Hyde quarterback in the league. At times, it's like, man, Jordan Love looks so good, and at times, it's like Jordan Love ain't all that. I think Josh Jacobs is good. I really believe in Josh Jacobs. They got a bunch of they don't have no great receivers, but if it was like a 7-on-7 where you got a quarterback with six wide receivers out there, I think they would have the deepest wide receiver core as far as a six wide receiver core. They got Golden from the rookie from Texas. We're gonna see how he does. He got a lot of speed and talent. Christian Watkins had the ACL injury late last year. You would expect he would start the season on the pup list. Um, and like I said, two good tight ends. Kraft is a good tight end, man. Defensively, they got a solid unit. They got a solid defense. Led by Rashawn Gary. Adrian Cooper is somebody who going into last year's draft, I really liked it a lot. Out of Texas A&M. Um, and a young secondary. They did use Jair Alexander, though he really didn't play much for them anyway over the last couple of years. I mean, it's a good team, but I don't know if they're a great team. They kind of like man, in my opinion, as far as their team. And then you're looking at the Chicago Bears, who's the flavor of the month in the NFC. The Wiz kid Ben Johnson, who I mentioned, left the Detroit Lions as the offensive coordinator, and is now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams obviously is extremely talented. Tough go of it last year, though he had some really good moments. He's talented, man. And look, if he gets good coaching from Ben Johnson, good tutelage, a good system, which you expect him to get, you could expect him to have a really good year. They invested into their offensive line. They added some pieces there. The running back situation, you got Swift, you got Roshan Johnson, who I think is slowly gonna take more carries away from Swift. And then they got deep weapons to throw to. Receivers, you got DJ Moore, who's really good. Roma Dunze, who had moments last year. You got a guy like Luther Burton, who was one of the better receivers coming into the draft this year. And they got two good tight ends, Colston Loveland, who some were surprised went ahead of PJ Warren, but is a very talented vertical threat, a receiving threat at tight end. And you still got Cole Komet and defensively, Montez Sweat. They picked up Grady Jack Jarrett from the Atlanta Falcons. T.J. Edwards, Tremaine Edwards, I'm sorry, and in the secondary you got a Jalen Johnson, who's one of the most underrated, solid corners in the game. This Bears team has talent. I don't know if they're quite ready to make a real run type talent, but I think they could push for a wild card spot type talent. Now for my NFC North division predictions for this year. I know they lost both coordinators, and that's a big deal. But I'm still gonna go to Detroit Lions to win this division. I just think they still are a Super Bowl contending team if you look at their roster. So I'm gonna go to Detroit Lions to win the NFC North. I'm gonna go to Minnesota Vikings to be second again, yo. I know JJ McCarthy is a question mark, but I just really believe in Kevin O'Connell's ability to develop quarterbacks and to coach an offense. And they got a lot of talent. They got a lot of weapons offensively, and they got nice personnel defensively with good coaching. So I'm gonna go to Minnesota Vikings second. My little bit of a curveball and surprise in this division, I'm gonna go to Chicago Bears third, yo. I think this team is talented. I think they're young, but I think they're talented. I like Caleb Williams' ability. I like the young receiver core, Ben Johnson. We don't know what to make of him as a head coach yet, but I know he could call an offense, and I think he gonna have that offense humming a little bit. And I think they got solid pieces defensively. So I'm going to Chicago Bears third in the NFC North, which means, yes, I'm going, and it's nothing personal, but I'm going to Green Bay Packers to finish last in this division. I just don't think they're as good as I think they. If they were in any other division, they would probably win the division or be higher up. This is a brutal division. This division is very tough. It don't mean that I think the Packers are going to suck, obviously, but I just think that the Lions, Vikings, and the moves the Bears did to their coaching staff and to their personnel in the offseason, I think that put the Bears ahead of the Packers in the division. So I'm going Detroit Lions to win the NFC North, Minnesota Vikings second, Chicago Bears third, and Green Bay Packers last place. But with that being said, man, that's all I got for y'all today. Appreciate y'all checking out the video. Hit the like button for your boy. Give me a subscribe, man. Philadelphia Eagles, NFL, and content of my other teams throughout the year. Y'all have a blessed one. Fly Eagles, fly.